My brothers and sisters in Christ, in today's reflection, I have a very simple question for you to take into your own prayer, and that is, why do you resist? Today's readings, and the first reading, the Psalm, the Gospel, in a way, in each, in their own way, they all take up the question of the prosperity that we have, not in a worldly sense, but the thriving that we have when we cooperate with God's will. The flourishing that happens, the fruitfulness that happens. Both the first reading and the Psalm use the image of the flowing water just pouring forth. If we continue with the water analogy, we can think of a flowing river, and the difference between flowing with the current versus fighting against the current. And so the question becomes, why do I resist? I could sit here and speak academically or categorically, but those aren't really what's at heart in today's reflection. For each of us, you and I, it's why do I resist God? Ultimately, if we don't cooperate with His will in the way in which He calls us, it could be because we simply reject what He says, as in either we reject God outright, or at least we don't believe it to be true, or the interpretation to be true. That's one position and its own issue to deal with. But for most people, it's the second category, which is to believe and hold this as true. If I were to put the premise before you that God is all-powerful, yes. That God knows what's best, yes. That it's good to follow God's will, yes. So then the follow-up is, why don't I? Again, I can speak categorically of pride, of the desires, that we have a fear of these different things. But ultimately, a generalization isn't helpful here. And our Advent journey, in which we are trying to prepare the way, to make room to receive the Lord, the question becomes, why do I resist? What stands in my way? What is the reason? What is the means by which I fight God against His will? Because that's what you and I do in our sin, our willfulness, our strong-headedness. Why do I resist God? This is ultimately a question of the heart, and we can only explore this in the depths of quiet prayer before the Lord, in the honesty where all is laid bare. But it is a question very important to answer, because without it, we will always have a barrier up. And when the Holy Family comes knocking, looking for room, we will say that there's no room at the inn. Instead, my brothers and sisters, this Advent, let's do not the work, let's do the true prayer and soul searching in the presence of God, so that we can prepare room to receive the fullness of the gift of God this Christmas. May God bless you all.